Hello and welcome to another episode of Shift Happens Catalyst Conversations. And this is actually the first time in Estonia when I record in person. And I would say karma has entered my house. And literally because this is Sabin Karma. He was born with his name, Karma. So this can be, I guess, quite an interesting way to be born. But we will talk about different things today, basically identity, authenticity, and many, many other things that come up. And all under the kind of like key phrase transformation and growing. So, first of all, maybe we start from the very beginning because I know you have a very interesting, unique birth story and you had to find your way because there are actually three men who look exactly like you because you have three, how do you call it, quadruplets?
Identical quadruplets. The
That's
key is
easy.
identical
Identical.
because if you do just a quadruplet, that makes it a certain rare chance. But identical quadruplet boys, meaning all four of us are boys, are men now. We're 27, and this makes it a 1 in 600 million chance of birth because there's only 24 sets of in history of recorded identical quadruplet boys.
Oh, wow, in
In
history. So
history,
even like during this century, you are very unique. These
yes.
four brothers being born at the same. Just imagine a mother carrying four babies, and they all come out and they all look like him. It's crazy. It's like, how do you even find yourself when you have everybody looking exactly like you, and not only a twin, like three brothers.
It's a challenge. I mean, you on one end, and we're in a certain phase where right now where we're a lot in separation because all of us are looking for our individual
Mm.
identity, but we are like we've also been best friends in our life. So you have this complex narrative where it's like I hate you because I want to be separate from you and I want to be my fucking own person, you know what I mean? And like fuck you because I've had to compare with you, I've had judgment around you, all of these things, and yet like I love you. And so it's this really mixed complexity of emotions where you have simultaneously the best friends and simultaneously for me this fire, like I want to get away from them. And it's funny that I moved to Estonia, that's 5,000 miles, if you will, away from California where I grew up and where all of them are living currently. So I've kind of maybe been the first one to go lead and go do my own thing. And it's actually so fucking nice to be here and be like, I don't have to live a life according to their standards anymore.
Yes.
I can just live a life for me. Like I can do like, who am I? Why am I here? What do I want uniquely as an individual? And I think that's not a challenge that is unique to people. That's not just a quadruplet challenge. That's something that is relevant to everybody. I think we're all in a search of who am I really? What do I really want? Why am I really here? And maybe it's not everyone because some people are still, I don't want to say even the word concept. Some people are just doing their own thing. But at one point in their life, people come to this inquiry where what is actually the deeper meaning of my life? And I just think this was thrown at me at a very early age because of the nature of being an identical quadruplet.
Wow, it's kind of like amplified, and you
Yes.
had to deal with this already at a very young age. So, did you have like any kind of way of separating yourself from the brothers? Maybe you had different colors of clothing or
Yes.
some different hairstyles.
No, this is great. This is great. So when we were really little, so my brothers' names are Lennon, Mark, Nolan, and Sabin in that order, and I'm Sabin. So they make a joke that because they painted our fingernails, because my parents couldn't tell us apart in the beginning because we're all so identical. So they painted our fingernails like Sabin scarlet, so red, Lennon lime, so green, Mark maroon, Nolan navy, and they make a joke that they might have switched Nolan and Mark up before that happened. I think it was our toenails, our fingernails, or both. And then when we were in elementary school, or I think it's called primary school here, first through fifth grade, we had to wear those same color shirts to school every day. So I had to wear red. If you notice, I'm not wearing red today because I had to wear red every day to school just so people can tell you apart. And you know what? That takes a toll on your identity because it's like, I have to be a certain way in order for people to even identify me. Why can't I just be my own person? So there's just a complexity. Like, I think people get this image. One kid said you guys had the perfect life, but it's like, it's not perfect. It's equally amazing as it was extremely, extremely challenging. And it's something that as I go into my own spiritual and authentic and personal development, it's still something that I have to work through because we literally come from the same embryo. We're literally one embryo split into four. So we're all separate, unique expressions, and yet we're all one at the same time.
Wow. And I guess the thing is that somebody else decided for you, okay, you are red because Sabin Scarlet,
Yes.
you didn't get to choose that.
That's
so
true.
now, do you actually avoid red, or what's your relationship with that
What's my
color?
relationship with red?
Yes.
Here's an interesting thought that I had one time about this. Like, red tends to be the color that represents the root or the root chakra. And for a long time, I avoided red. And that was also a way that I was escaping my own roots. I think more now, as I come into my own wholeness, I more want to embrace the roots as a part of who I am, while also feeling the fire, like in the solar plexus, of that individuality. I think you can hold both of these at the same time. So, long story short, I don't hold some horrible resentment towards red anymore. I'm okay wearing red. It's not super often. I'm trying to think. I have a few red shirts, but it's yeah. So I think I've healed a lot of that kind of wounding. Probably not perfectly, but not even healing is not the right word. Transmuted is probably a better word to use.
So did you also make these kinds of tricks and jokes that, okay, you switched
Yes.
with brothers at school or something?
I didn't know we haven't talked about this, because all this is very real. So every day there was a day in California or in America called Twin Day. You dress up like somebody. So everyone would dress up like their best friend. This day we would all wear this exact same shirt. Like, we would all wear a blue shirt and blue pants. And then when after lunch, two of us would switch classes with the other two, and we would see if the teachers would notice.
So you were actually going to different classes?
We're actually going to different classes on that one day. Yeah, we would switch. We've also done some other things that I won't go into with like girls. Nothing that was crossing a line inappropriate, but we had our share of fun. Is what I'll say.
So if one of the brothers doesn't want to go somewhere, he can send somebody else.
Yeah.
You can always kind of like, okay, now it's your turn to go and do that thing that I don't like, and you can just choose the best.
We always make a joke that, like, if one of us committed a crime, they're not going to be able to find out who it was, because I think
fingerprints and everything.
Everything's so identical.
So they will just send everybody to prison.
Let's hope it never gets there, but yes.
Or nobody. Yeah, that's crazy. So in all this, when did you start developing your own identity at any specific age or
so it was around about 5 years ago. I always say, when COVID swept the planet, it was a lot of collective suffering, and it was also a harbinger, if you will, of transformation. It brought a lot of individual suffering to me. So I was living this kind of perfect life. Like, I was dating 4 girls at the same time, and I was at this prestigious university, and I was living the life that everyone had expected of me, and not the life that was true to my core. I'll say it that way. And when COVID came crashing down, I was forced back home with all the brothers who I was trying to not be around, and all the girls fell out of my life, and I was a mess. And for the first time in my life, I could say I was actually depressed. But the depression forced me to turn within to the divine, if you will, but I didn't even believe in that back then. But I was forced to come inside into my heart, instead of just being out there in the world, always chasing something. And this is when I said, there's got to be more to life than what I'm currently experiencing. And somehow that was put out into the universe, if you will, that energy that there's got to be more to life. And, I hear the divine say, oh my God, yes, there is. Because immediately, one day when I was listening to a podcast, I all of a sudden came across Vishen Lakhiani in Mind Valley, and that drew me out. And so all of a sudden I was shown, call it grace or the grace of God or whatever, but I was shown, not by just my own effort, but by a lot of suffering, and then the grace through that suffering, my own alternative path that I would call my authentic path. And I've been walking that path. I'm writing a book, which I have to give Silja so much praise, because when you started, or you had the idea to start that writing thing through Mind Valley, that's when I wrote probably 80% of that book. I still have to finish it, but 80% of that book was started in that moment when we all gathered.
I guess we only had 2 meetups or something, so it wasn't even that much.
Yeah.
But
you get the momentum going.
I was still the catalyst.
Yes, you were.
Because this is my path, being the catalyst, being the initiator, the activator. Because I don't know how much you know about human design.
Yes, I do.
And in this, I'm the manifester, so I have to start stuff.
Yes, and you were a catalyst for this book. It's called You Are Chosen, and what it does is it illuminates how I got pulled into this authentic path and coming into my own calling and my own, if you will, being chosen, like nature. And in this path of miracles that have unfolded over the last 5 years since I aligned with my authentic path, it illuminates to the reader that the same thing is possible for them. So the book is not about my story. It's about my story, and so that it's an inspiration and a vessel of miracles and transformation that is a catalyst, if you will, for their path. So that's the whole book details. I won't go into it too much here, but it's been the craziest journey of my life. They say that a life with your authentic self or with God or with source or with divine is beyond what your mind can conceive. It's beyond your wildest dreams. And I say that both in the blissful heaven-like way, and it's been more suffering and challenges beyond what I could have ever expected.
Yeah.
So I'm not one to say that it's only been greats and highs, but it's been deep, it's been meaningful, and it's been worth it.
Wow. So you talk a lot about God as well. What does God represent for you? Is it like this man in the clouds, or
It's a great question.
or is it more like
Yeah.
something abstract?
Thank you for asking. It's a very personal question, so let me just tune in for a second. What I want people to know is that, I'll say it this way first, the way to maximize your power, your potential, the fullness of life is through, I'm going to say it interestingly, is through intimacy with the divine, with God. I like calling God because God, for me, forms a relationship. It's not just like an outer universe that has some laws that you have to follow. No, it's like, to me, God is a best friend. God is a brother. God is a father. God is a mother. It's all of these different things at the same time. And for me, God is the source of love. Every single person, please hear this, has the opportunity to partner, to become best friends with a friend that will never leave you, a friend that will never abandon you. I'm sorry, but we're human beings. We're always changing. You can't rely on other people. Yes, you can to an extent, but even my dear beloved Kaya, my soulmate, is not going to be around forever. She will go one day. You know who will never go any day? God, source, divine. And that's the beauty, that when you access that within, it's like coming home to yourself. And so this source of love, which you are intrinsically connected to and are a part of, forming a relationship with that essence, partnering with that, this is how we experience miracles.
And miracles also seem to be a very big part of your
Yes.
life right now. Because even the way how you ended up in Estonia, that was a miracle.
Yes, and I can tell that story.
Yeah, you can share.
So I love sharing this story. So, I was talking about how I was dating 4 girls at the same time. And when God first took hold of my life, I'll use God, but please interchange it with whatever term you feel. When God first took a hold of my life, these 4 girls had fallen out of my life. The last one flew from Chicago to San Diego, brought acid or LSD. I kid you not. And we were in an Airbnb, tripping our asses off, if you will. And all of a sudden, in this acid trip, must have been a portal for the divine to speak to me. And I heard this very powerful message that you need to stop dating girls for a while, and you need to not go back to the University of Notre Dame, which is this prestigious university. So basically, you need to leave the old life behind. And I should have been like, what the fuck? I don't want to stop dating girls. Like, I can't. I should have argued with this voice, but it felt so. There's a great line in the Bible that says, my sheep know my voice. It felt like coming home. This voice, like I couldn't argue with it. I was like, yes, I'm going to. And immediately within a day or two, this person was gone. And for 9 months, first, I didn't go back to university. I still have not gone back to this day. I would never be where I am if I went back. And I'm so grateful for that. I took 9 months off of dating girls. I got a coach. I got a healer. I joined an institute. It was called Inside Out Institute. And all of a sudden, I was on the phone one day with my business partner at that institute, because it was also building your business, and where I was on Instagram, talk about a miracle. And I was really bored. And I love this saying that from the simplest, most human moments are birthed the greatest miracles. I'll say that again. From the simplest, most human moments are birthed the greatest miracles. And I say that because I was bored out of my mind helping she was twice my age, my business partner, set up her Instagram. And all of a sudden, I did something I would never do, which is go to my Instagram notifications. I didn't do that. And all of a sudden, I saw 2 girls that followed me from Mind Valley. And both were beautiful women, don't get me wrong, physically. But one was like, great, that's a beautiful woman, tiny picture, awesome, next. The other one silenced my entire being, where my business partner was trying to speak to me on the phone and was wondering if I was there, but I literally couldn't talk for a full minute because I was so enamored by not just the physical beauty, but the energetic beauty of the essence of this person. So I would, if you want to call it love at first sight, you can call it that, even if I didn't know that yet. But this was like maybe what some call love at first sight. And she was like, and I can explain on this, she was like, are you there? And I was like, and this business partner of mine was also a psychic. So I was like, Ro, she had sensed my ex coming back into my life a few weeks before, and we did a lot of healing. I said, Ro, do you sense another female coming into my life? That was all I could say after a minute of silence. She's like, yeah, 0.5. And I was like, 0.5? What does that mean? She says, you're going to have to choose. And I'm like, so I'm like thinking, what does this mean? I didn't message this girl, Kaya, half of this. I just said, hey, I didn't want to seem like a nut. I said, hey, you found me via, how'd you find me on Instagram? She said, I watched an Instagram video. I work at Mind Valley and they gave me a feedback video. And when your video came up, it somehow got to me. So I followed you on Instagram. Within 3 weeks of our first call, we had fallen so madly in love. I have to explain this to you. This was a miracle because it gave me the belief in God. I did not believe in God or the divine before this, but when a love hits your heart so strong, and it's 1,000,000 times stronger than anything you've ever experienced, you cannot help but put your arms up and say, God must be real. Miracles must exist. And my dad was like, what is happening to Sabin? He's like crying tears of bliss and joy. My mom, all very intuitive, is like, I think he's in love. And my dad goes, with who? It's COVID. How can he be in love? This is in 2021. And this was all online. So over Instagram and WhatsApp, we fell madly in love, declaring our last day on earth together, seeing our marriage, our kids within 3 weeks of meeting each other. And after, I remember the day, March 5th, where we fell madly in love, and I told her I loved her, and she said it back. And it was like the heaven and angels were all singing. The whole universe was orchestrating this one moment. Then we said, oh, maybe we should meet in person. And I couldn't get in. There was like, that was that. But that didn't even cross our minds. Of course, we wanted to meet up. But then it was like the next logical step. And my mom said, you can't get into Estonia because of COVID. Why don't you go to Costa Rica? So we went to Costa Rica for 25 days and had a beyond words amazing time. But imagine you're already in love with this person, and then you're waiting in a hotel for this person in San Jose, Costa Rica, to walk in through the door, who you're madly in love with, but you've never seen in real life. Such a surreal moment. And I'll just also touch on the 0.5. I'm not a big fan of this term anymore, but the 0.5 ultimately ended up meaning, I was guided, that I had met my twin flame. So there's a difference between soulmates and twin flames. Twin flames is going to be a fucking hell of a ride, let me tell you, because they are the direct mirror of your soul. They're going to feel the most like home of probably of any person you've ever met, but they're also going to challenge and trigger the shit out of you. And I can say that this miraculous relationship in the last 4 years has been wildly both. I'll leave it at that.
It sounds like you were showing up authentically as yourself in this feedback video. Kaya saw that, she saw something in you.
Yes.
And then it's like, that was kind of the catalyst. You being you being authentically you.
Yes.
And poof, just everything happened. And now we're like living here, you have a child.
And that brought me here, it brought me to a child, it brought me to everything. And you know what I shared in that video? I was doing a networking session. It was like 80 people, and I was really inspired in my group of 4. So I raised my hand to share. And you know what I shared? I said, Mind Valley is such a place where people can be themselves. I have goosebumps saying it. Be authentic, be real. So I was sharing about the very thing I was embodying, and she picked that up on that video, and that's what led to this explosion
authenticity, and it's in the best way possible.
Yes.
Wow, this is like really a crazy story, a love story from the Corona times.
Yes.
And you can see distances don't matter when two souls kind of recognize each other. Poof.
Agreed.
It was
distance, time doesn't matter. Love doesn't know time or space.
Wow. So yeah, authenticity. I know this is also a very big word for you.
Yes.
So what does it mean to be authentic?
Such a good question. Another one I need to tune in for and see what emerges. Let me be honest. So I got to a place in my life many, many years ago where I realized that a life without the divine and a life without being authentic to me, which is by aligning to the divine or the God within, is not a life worth living. Everything else outside of that lack of authentic alignment is meaningless. Authenticity is when you give yourself the permission. I know it sounds so simple, and the mind makes it so complex. You give yourself the permission to just be. How do you allow yourself to just be? I get this question all the time, and I've created a guide called The Freedom of Authentic Self-Love, which has allowed me to fall deeply in love with myself for the first time this year. And basically, what I invite people to do is to pick a space, stop trying to be authentic for everyone else, because the biggest thing that hinders authenticity is one word: judgment. You fear the judgment of others, you fear their disapproval, their rejection, their disappointment, their whatever, and so you decide to act like a different version of yourself in order to earn that from them. You get what I'm saying? And so we need to tap deep within, and we need to start with ourselves. You need to learn how to be authentic with yourself, because guess what? You live with your own judgment.
Yeah.
And so if you can learn, we're not trying to heal or release the judgment and get rid of it. We're trying to learn to live beyond the judgment. So it can be there, but there's a deeper part of us that we're acting from that deeper place, even though the judgment exists simultaneously. So in a sacred space where you're just by yourself, I write it something like this. I say, kick, scream, fight your thoughts, overthink, don't overthink. And I'm not saying it to be like wacko. I'm saying it to break the mind of like, okay, this is what authenticity is. No, this is what authenticity is when I'm meditating. No, authenticity is when I'm expressing. Like, no, it's it's whatever's emerging for you in that moment. Just give yourself permission to do it, no matter what your fucking mind says. Just fucking do it.
Yes.
And you train that muscle. And as you just allow yourself to be in that state, or do, or fight the thoughts, or allow the thoughts to be, or whatever, this thing called what I call your authentic truth, the deeper part of you, at one point begins to emerge naturally. And that's the authentic self. So it's basically just being, which allows the authentic truth to emerge. And then the next step after you uncover that authentic truth is to embody it and radiate it out. So then you have to learn, how can I maintain that authentic truth I've uncovered from just being, and while I'm in the midst of another person? Because now, oh, is it safe to share it with this person? Can I actually share it with this person? You get what I'm saying? And so it's a whole dance. So the two courses I've been really passionate about creating this year is one, uncovering your authentic truth, freedom of authentic self-love. The next one's called living beyond judgment. And I've been a living embodiment. How do you embody and radiate that truth? Not shrinking, not people pleasing. How do you just fucking stay in your power while you're in the midst of another person?
Yeah.
And the key to that is go to places where you're received. Go to places where the energy is amplified. Because if you receive me really well in this truth, the energy gets amplified, and that's the miracle field. And Mind Valley, that's what makes Mind Valley so good. It is such a receptive audience to this kind of stuff. When I go to a normal workplace or something, and others, I won't say it this passionately, not because I don't want to, but because the truth that I hold is so sacred. They're not ready for it. They're not in resonance to receive it. And so I'm going to sacredly and intentionally withhold it and keep it here and use it for the right people. Because every time the right person receives it and the energy is amplified, it tells my nervous system it's safe to be me.
Yes.
Period.
That was powerful, like full of authenticity and
Yes.
energy. I also feel that in some spiritual or like spiritual even communities, sometimes people kind of act as if they are authentic. I'm like, oh, I'm so authentic.
Yes.
So sometimes they actually use the word authenticity to be rude, impolite, do very crazy stuff, be irresponsible in some ways. And they're like, oh, this is just me. I'm just being authentic. And they use it as an excuse.
It's a buzzword that's been very, very badly misused.
Like, I'm an asshole, but I'm not an asshole. I'm just authentic, And they use authenticity to cover up, like, not being responsible, not being a kind, good human, I would say.
Yes, and I would say authenticity and integrity have to go together. You can't just be, yes, there's a time to be irresponsible. Okay, I'll say this. Practice being irresponsible when it doesn't affect other people. That's integrous. I can be irresponsible with myself and be wild and crazy and free without harming other people. Authenticity can't impose on the freedom of other people, because true authenticity empowers others to be authentic themselves. It doesn't hurt others. It doesn't impose on others. I'm being in my authentic truth right now. I'm making you it. I hope all it does is give you permission to smile and come alive again. Not you have to be a certain way. Then that's not authentic. Then I'm giving you a version of me that's imposing. And I did this for a long time with my brothers. It's like, I'm really passionate about something. Now you have to be too. No. But the more I stand in my truth, I don't need anyone else to do it as well. I have it in here, and that's what matters.
You don't need everybody else to follow the same path.
Yes.
Because it's just your path. And, sometimes when we start doing something that is very close to our heart, we love it, we do it with passion. We want everybody else to also join because it's so good.
Yes, true.
And maybe at some point we feel and think that, okay, it can also be good for the others, but maybe it's not their path. They have a different kind of meaning of life and purpose and everything.
I completely agree. You
just want to share, like. Yeah. I also studied nutrition, and at some point I wanted to share with my family, like, what's the best way, how to find the clean food and that kind of stuff, but they are not interested.
Yeah.
I don't want to change. And I tried to push.
Yeah. Yeah. It
And
doesn't work. It doesn't work.
and also, at some point, I guess I was giving my sister some advice about training and losing weight. And she was like, yeah. She didn't listen to me. And then she went to somebody else, paid for the advice. And that was exactly the same. And then she was like, oh, yeah, this sounds very true. I'm like, yeah, I told you 3 years ago. But family usually doesn't listen.
Yeah.
And friends might also be, they want to pay somebody who is an expert, even if you maybe have more knowledge and skills and experience, they still want to pay a stranger. It's kind of like they don't trust you in some way.
There's a great saying from Lao Tzu. It says, a wise man never argues for what purpose. Because you have your view, they have their view. You ain't changing it. And so what I encourage people to do is, instead of focusing that energy outward on trying to change the other person, focus the energy inward on embodying the person that you say you are, embodying the nutritionist, embodying the authenticity. Because when you embody it at such a deep core level, the right people can't help but not be attracted to it. And then they come to you and they say, what did you do? I want that. And then you can happily, from an overflow, content, loving, authentic place, share the wisdom that got you there. But you're not, you have to be like this, and you have to be, no, again, that saying from the Bible, my sheep know my voice. The right people will know the voice and the emanation of authenticity that's coming from your being, and they'll be drawn in.
It's kind of just be you authentically and then inspire.
Yes.
That's what I'm doing now, because I don't have the energy to go and convince people.
I know.
I don't want to go convincing people. It's like everybody does whatever the hell they want to do. And if they are inspired by me, good.
Yes.
And even now on social media, at some point I try to offer more value and make the reels and or the posts with inspiration, motivation, quotes, blah, blah, blah. Well, I'm like, okay, I just post whatever feels good for me, and that's it. I'm not going to try to be motivating and inspiring. If I am already in my own essence, good.
Yes,
if not,
that's it. That's it. There's a great Lisa Nichols saying, nothing to hide, prove, or defend. It's like, even when I come here, I struggle with thoughts like, I haven't seen this person for a while. Do I need to show something? And then I'm like, fuck that. That's my judgment. And then I just choose. There's a deeper part of me that says, I have nothing to hide, prove, or defend. Just have to be me. There's nothing. And that's the most liberating energy. That's the most authentic thing you can do. And then the irony is that people feel that. And they're like, oh my God, this person seems so content and in love with themselves, and they have something about them.
Oh my God, I guess I saw you like 1 year ago
at
Mind Valley.
Yeah, at Mind Valley University. It's been crazy. I know, it's actually been a while.
Of course, I was away for 7 months as well.
Yeah.
And then, the other life happened, and wow. But it's kind of, we can go deep very fast.
Yeah.
Because I guess we also very tapped into the authentic selves.
Yes.
And we know each other. We know each other on a deeper level because we have had all these deep discussions before.
And experiences. We've had many over the years. Me and you. We've known each other, I think it's been 2 or 3 years now.
I guess it's going to be 3 years in September.
Yeah.
When we were in this Mind Valley meetup.
Oh, yeah.
Around the table.
Yeah, that was 3 years.
It's like all about Mind Valley.
I know. Mind Valley, I have my own issues with it, but it has a magical capacity to bring the right people together. There's something about the energy. And one of the things I want to do at what I'm building, which is Karma Institute, is I feel that Mind Valley's main focus is transformation, which is great. But I feel that people are craving even more than transformation is community. And that's what's always drawn me there. So I want to make a place where the community is the priority and the transformation is a byproduct of the connection.
I'm going this year to Amsterdam for 2 weeks. At some point I didn't want to go. And then I started hearing from friends, because I also had many of them on my podcast.
Yeah.
People from Mind Valley. And they're like, oh yeah, I'm going. I'm like, I don't feel super drawn to Amsterdam as a city. It was better to have it here. You go back home every day and you get to recharge and be at peace. And I was like, okay, different country, different city. It's not going to be so comfortable. I'm like, do I want to go? But then I'm like, but the people, the community. I want to see these amazing people and maybe build some new connections. So I'm going for the community this time.
Yeah, that's it. That's what makes us breathe. That's what makes us come alive, is when you feel when two people or a community that starts off as separate connects on such a deep level that we become one. Like, we realize we're not so different after all. And that level of heart-centered connection, that is the miracle field. That's when the impossible becomes possible. And by the way, that is my definition of miracles. When the seemingly impossible becomes possible. Period.
And yeah, with the Mind Valley people, I maybe see them once a year at Mind Valley
Yeah,
events.
yeah.
Maybe we have one goal in the meantime or something. I have had like 3, 4, 5 maybe podcast recordings with these people online, but we can just connect so deeply every time. It's like, poof, like we
Yes.
never left.
Yes. They just pick up where
So
you left
the
off.
depth
Yeah.
of connection, I would rather have these kind of quality connections than just some shallow acquaintances who say
Yes.
hello, how are you, and that kind of stuff.
How are you? Good, good. Like
Yeah,
don't really care about how you're doing, but think they need to ask like how are you doing? Like how are you? Fine. How are you? Fine. And it's like
yes,
if you open up, they're like, I
whatever.
don't care.
Yeah, usually I even started to. Okay, it also depends what kind of person I'm
Yeah.
talking to. If it's like a random normal person who doesn't know anything about transformation and who's not into self development, maybe I just say, "Oh yeah, cool, whatever." But if it's somebody maybe like you and you ask, "Okay, how are you?" I'm like, I'm gonna ask, "Do you want the polite answer or do you want the real one?
Yeah, yeah.
Do you want to go? How deep do you want to
Yeah,
go?"
it's a great metric to determine
Mhm.
where people are at and if they want to meet you there. And I think honestly, if you're in front of a normal person, they're not ready to hear the deeper truth that you want to share. It's good for you to
Yeah,
withhold that.
yeah,
I want you to know it's good to just
yeah.
say I'm fine and move on, and then spend that energy on the people that do want to hear
Yeah,
it.
I'm not gonna say, "Oh, I'm struggling. I actually didn't want to leave last week," and blah blah blah. Blah. I'm like,
And
they're like,
yeah,
"Whoa."
because that's the judgment that you don't need to receive that. Like, why
Mhm.
put yourself, it took me years to realize, why be overly vulnerable with the people that are just going to judge, criticize,
Mhm.
reject, or ignore it?
Yeah.
Go to where it's amplified. That is not running from rejection. That is spirit strategy. I
Hmm.
go to the people that are ripe for transformation. I go to the people that
Yeah.
are ready to receive my truth, whether it's I'm really struggling right now or I'm super in my power. This is what I stand for, and everything in between.
Yeah. There are people who can receive and who can
Yes.
hold space for that.
Yes,
It's not
find those
for.
people. That's the key to
Yes.
living beyond judgment. That is, if I had to
Yes.
say one thing, and I'm currently co-authoring a book with somebody also from Mind
Oh.
Valley. It's called Soul Diamond Legacy, and my chapter is called The True Path to Miracles. And
Hmm.
one way I talk about unlocking, embodying, and radiating your authentic truth is going to where you're received. This is the key. I want to lay
So.
this on people because I don't think this is common knowledge that the personal development community is even sharing. Go to where you're received and trust that you
Hmm.
don't have to force it. Okay, who can receive me? Who can't? Yes, think
Hmm.
about it, but trust that you'll be guided to the places. And
Hmm.
I teach people a very specific process for how I call it inch by inch vulnerability. So you kind of share a little something and you gauge, okay,
Hmm.
how did they receive
Exactly.
it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then from there, everyone does this, but we're not conscious of it. Like we're all, then you kind of determine, okay, is it safe to go deeper? And this
Hmm.
is how you do it. This is how you recalibrate your nervous system because your nervous system's not ready to just spill its guts out to anybody. You're going to get pain probably. People are going to hurt you in response. But
Hmm.
I do one thing, even right now, I do one thing.
Hmm.
I see how you received it. Oh, it's safe to go deeper. Then I share more. And then before
Yeah.
you know it, boom, we're in this flow.
Yeah.
This is how it works. This is the art of authentic connection.
I'm also playing with that kind of things and connections because right now here in this Larsen house, I'm part of a community. We have actually 4 houses, and we have events every week. There's something happening, and I started something. It's called book club. But
Yeah.
yeah, we talk about books a little bit. But I invited people to bring a book that has impacted them in some way and just share with others. And books are just conversation starters.
Yes.
So with that, I try to lead them into self development. I was, okay, testing,
Yeah.
because that was the first event 2 weeks ago. And I even made them listen to Adam Roa's poem.
Really? I love that poem.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
most famous one. You're the
Yeah.
one who
The
you were
viral
looking
one.
for.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, close your eyes and listen. It's about self love. And it's about, I wanted to give an example of how powerful words can be.
Yes.
And at some point, they were just start talking to each other. I'm like, what? You just close your eyes for 4 minutes and listen
Yeah.
to the poem. Come on. Like, I'm like, oh, meditate. I'm like, okay, maybe they're not ready for
They're not
that.
your sheep, period. They're
Yeah.
not your people right
I
now.
just, there was some potential. Even when we started small introductions circle, some people were sharing quite deep stuff. Okay, I'm struggling. I'm like, oh, I
Wow.
wasn't even sure that they are ready to say that because I
Yeah.
was like, okay, just say your name and one word that describes your life right now. You don't have to explain, just one word, blah, blah,
And
blah.
people opened up.
And
Yeah.
they were actually in the first circle in the beginning. I was like, somebody saying, oh, I'm struggling a lot right now. I'm like, wow, okay. So there is potential,
Yeah.
but maybe they're not ready to just listen to a poem and meditate with the poem. So I was tapping
Yeah.
into that. We're gonna have next event sometime in August, so let's see where it goes.
Yeah, and I just want to say one thing I also write in my Living Beyond Judgment course is when that does happen, you share something from your heart and it's not received, it hurts. It doesn't feel good. It aches. And it's like, be kind to yourself. You felt something. You didn't make a mistake. You didn't do anything wrong. But also you can gauge, okay, next time with that particular audience or that particular group of people, I'm going to be a little more cautious.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to show, unless I really feel it, I'm not going to show the deeper layers as quickly. And that's totally fine. But I just want to reassure you, and I'm sure you know this, you did nothing wrong. You're not going to be able to be received perfectly in everything you share. There's always going to be a moment where it's imperfect and you try to share something and it didn't land. And it's like, ouch. And that happened. That's part of the process.
Yeah, like I said, this was just the first time. And obviously, I'm like amazed. Okay, I had 10, 12 people maybe. And they were opening up. Okay, there is potential. I can see the potential. So I just need to find a way what's best for these kind of people who maybe are not used to talking about these things openly and having it actually said out loud.
Yes.
So this can be like the first time. So I'm like, let's see.
And it's beautiful if you can guide people into their own depths, but some people, we're different in a way that we can go really deep, really quick. Some people need step by step by step. And because that's what their nervous system can handle.
It has to be safe space.
And it has to be safe. And that's another thing I tell people. And I said this on the Mind Valley stage in 2023. To be authentic, you have to feel safe. If you don't feel safe to be authentic because you fear the judgment of others, and everyone has fear of judgment, but learning to live beyond it. If you don't feel safe to be authentic and you're not in a safe space, I'm not going to be authentic with someone who doesn't feel safe too. Fuck that. I'm not going to put myself in that unnecessarily painful
You're not going to be
situation.
like emotional and
Yeah, and they're like, do you need me to call someone? Are you okay? I'm not going to put myself there. It's not because they can't meet me there. And that's not a bad thing. It's just not my people.
Yeah. And it's also about, you don't have to be liked by everyone.
Yes.
I'm learning that. I'm like, okay, I don't have to be friends with everybody. Nowadays, as a manifesto with inconsistent energy, I'm also leaving events early when I feel like, okay, I've had enough. Time to go.
Yes, I agree.
So I'm just trying to balance myself more.
Yes.
But how do you create the safe space for yourself and the people around you?
How do you create the safe space? That's a good question.
You personally, for example.
Let me just tune in. So I'm also realizing that I haven't been on a podcast. I guess the answer to that is just very simple, but it's being authentic, and having boundaries is also very important. My boundary right now, I just started to get a little bit overwhelmed because I think that I'm getting so passionate and I haven't been on a podcast in a long time. So this is actually a lot for my own nervous system, if I'm being really honest, to handle the level of presence and power that's coming through this. And so like I'm getting to a place where I need to communicate. I need a time at some point soon. And I don't know how that works or how long you do these, but just to integrate all of this information because it's been so good. And I think we've left them with so much gold already. And I just want to come into a space. Can we take a few breaths? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Let's just put our hands on our heart and just breathe in. And whoever's listening, you can do the same. We just breathe in. And then as you breathe out, just ground the energy. Again, in. Grounding the energy. One more time, in. And if you're here right now listening, and for me and Silja, just give thanks for this moment. Give thanks for everything that's transpired. Give thanks to yourself for showing up imperfectly as you are. You could be anywhere, but you chose to be in this moment to share this experience, this unique experience. And I just want to thank you and thank me and thank Silja for this opportunity. Just come back to the present moment. And look, I already start to feel a little bit better.
Yeah. I really love how you very authentically took this moment of pause to slow the pace down. I can also feel that now I'm speaking a little bit more slowly.
Yes.
Like then it's kind of chill.
Yeah.
So you have this courage even, I would
Thank
say,
you.
to take this moment of pause. Some people might just, rush through the podcast maybe.
Yes.
Just to,
And it's a passion thing. Like I was, at least I know I can speak for me, so passionate. And then at one point the fire became too much. So it's always this system of calibrating your nervous system. Nothing was wrong with what we did, but now we're just coming back to a more centered place where it's like, now I feel I want something more calm. Now I feel like I want to tune more in. I want to integrate this experience. I want to celebrate this experience. I just, you know what I mean? And this is another thing. The most important words for me this year is boundaries. That's a boundary. I just said a boundary, but a boundary wasn't saying you have to be different. Boundary was just, this is what I need. And having the courage to speak up for that instead of just sitting in my own overwhelm and not saying anything, because my brain's telling me, you're a little overwhelmed, say something. But then the fear of judgment, that's the only thing that would stop me.
And this was very authentic.
Yes.
This was an example of creating this safe space for
Yes.
yourself and
So
for me.
I answered it by example, like we talked about.
The practical way of doing things.
Yes.
Really speaking out loud, setting the boundaries, saying if you need something. I guess speaking about your own needs. This is a very big thing. I'm still learning how to do that.
Yes.
Because I guess I don't consider myself a big people pleaser, but I have done that in past, especially in relationships, just not talking out, like speaking out about my needs. And then I'm like, I just create relationships that are not so nourishing for either of the people in the situation.
Yes, exactly.
So you really need to speak up. And
you need to speak up. I feel so much calmer since and there's a great quote I saw the other day that said, or the other week, every true boundary grants you an enriched flow of life force, clarity, and alignment. I had to set a boundary with my dad and take some space from him. And it wasn't an easy thing to do, but the second I did it, I felt all this energy come back. When I felt this breathe for a second, I felt my life force come back. This is worth it, because I need to tell the people listening that boundaries are not easy, because you have to risk rejection. And if you're setting a boundary with someone who's not good with their own boundaries, they might likely not respond well to it. But know that that's a reflection of their own lack of boundaries. The right people, again, in your life will honor your boundaries.
Yeah.
Like you honored it. You let us go into that moment. Everyone listening will get to go into the moment with us. And we're all enriched because of it.
Yeah. So something a little bit different kind of topic.
Yeah.
So you coming from California, the sunny state, where people, I guess in US, what I have seen, people like very open. So Estonia, this cold country, people are mostly introverted, closed off. Or is it actually true? How do you see us Estonians?
So when I first came to Estonia 4 years ago, it was a bit of a cultural shock, because I was so open and used to people making eye contact. So the initial contact point with Estonians can come across as cold and uninviting, let's say. But I feel that when you get to know the people, or it's not just on the street, and you really get to know them, they tend to be more genuine, more grounded, more real, at least than the people I knew in America. So this is what I would say. Yeah, that I would say that like ultimately there's a more genuine energy here, which I really like. But at first it can come across, but I just think you have to give it a chance.
Yeah.
So if you ever visit Estonia, give it a chance.
Yeah, I feel that once you are in some Estonian person's inner circle, you are like really in. But because it's kind of like deeper, more authentic connection.
Yes.
On the surface, people might not have eye contact with you. They might not smile. They might look away.
Yes.
They just avoid. They don't acknowledge your presence, whatever. But once you're like in for life.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So I guess we just, maybe it's also about our past. So we don't trust everybody immediately.
Yeah, that's true. I think the same thing.
But once we trust, it's like, okay, we really trust you. We really want to be your friend and be in your circle. Do you have many Estonian people around you?
Well, because I've been in a cave for a while, my own cave, I would say no. I have a few close people, but no, I would say the Estonian friends I have made have been very good, very open-hearted, very great people.
So, to wrap it up, we talked a lot about authenticity and knowing your own path. So, if people want to be inspired by you, what's the place to connect with you?
Great question. So I am currently in the works. By the time this comes out, it should be finalized. I just got the nudge. So I've been in a cave for many months, really going deep into my authentic truth. And I realized I want to speak again. I want to be out there in the world. I want to use my voice with the new person I've become. So I'm currently putting together a speaker website, speaker profile. So if you do want to hear more of me, you have that opportunity to book me at a retreat or your spiritual container or a stage, whether online or in person. I'm really open to just sharing this message about authenticity, miracles, the divine, these kind of like keywords, and true love and connection, all these things that I think matter to so many human beings. So we can link it in the show notes.
Yes, of
And
course.
you can just click that, and that will give you everything you need to book me to speak. So that's the main thing I'm looking for, because one of my deepest gifts is speaking. I'm not looking to sell anything right now, or programs that may come later, but I just want to get the message out. This is my biggest
Just
desire.
get the message out.
Yes.
Because I know that you as a speaker, you are always speaking from a very authentic space, from the heart, and very often improvising.
Yes.
And I've seen that on the stage,
Yes.
and I really admire this courage to
Thank you.
just go, not so prepared maybe, but just knowing that, okay, it's already all within me.
Yes.
And if I'm authentic, I can just let it
Thank
out.
you. That's it. And that is how one becomes a living miracle in front of everyone else, because the willingness to be authentic is what is how you become the miracle that you actually are. And I tell people, one of my best quotes that came to me this year is, you don't need to be perfect for a miracle to occur, because you are the miracle.
You are the miracle.
You are the miracle. And authenticity saying, I am the miracle. All I have to do is be me, and the miracles will unfold. And the funny story behind that quote is, I was realizing that I was trying so hard to perform miracles. And I wrote a quote. I said, performing miracles is not what makes me worthy, whether they come true or not. I am the miracle. And then this quote came to me, and I was like, this is it. And I think this is what more people need to hear.
And if somebody wants you to speak at their event, I guess you're also ready to travel.
I'm ready to travel. I would have to know in advance so I can plan around my schedule, but I am very open to traveling to your country or to your city. I love in person more than online, but I am very open to speaking on an online platform as well. I just want to get the message out to as many people as possible, not so a billion people have to hear it, but so the right ones come forward, and the right ones awaken, and the right ones embody the miracle that they are.
Beautiful. So I guess that's it.
Thank you so much.
The miracle has been made. Done.
It's been planted. It's done.
Yes.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Silja,
you.
for inviting me.
Yeah. Okay.
Awesome. That was great.
Yeah.